Good day, and welcome to Think About It with Jayden Miller. I am your host, Jayden Miller. Welcome on this beautiful Sunday in Phoenix, Arizona. It is going up to about 111 degrees today on August the 27th, 2023. I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome back to another episode of my podcast. But before I get started, please check out my website at www.jaydenmiller.com. That's JAYDENMILLER.com. You can find out some interesting things about me there. And also, please like, share, and subscribe on my YouTube channel, and like, comment, and follow on your favorite podcast platform. You can find me on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Spreaker, Google Podcast, Castbox, iHeartRadio, Good Pods, Podvine, Amazon Podcast, Podcast Addicts, and so many more. Again, welcome back to my podcast for this week, August 27, 2023. A lot has gone on in the last few days. Just wanted to share a few things before I really get into my topic today. Yesterday, a little after 1 p.m. Eastern time in the great state of Florida, unfortunately, there was a shooting that happened. So there was a young man, and I will tell you his name in just a moment, but he decided that he wanted to go into a local Dollar General store in Jacksonville, Florida, and kill 3 black people. It was racially motivated. He did target these people, and he authored several manifestos for the media, his parents, and law enforcement, detailing his hatred for black people. The suspect had no criminal history and had purchased the weapons. He had an AR-15 and a handgun, a Glock handgun, during this killing of these African American people yesterday. As I mentioned, he had no criminal record. There was once a domestic violence call with his brother a few years prior. However, there were no other red flags for the police or anybody else to know. He had a Baker Act, which is a Florida law that allows people to be placed in temporary detention with emergency services for up to 72 hours for a mental health examination. The shooter had authored 3 manifestos, one to federal agents, one to his parents, and one to the media, in which he detailed his disgusting ideology of hate. That's according to Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. Waters. The actual name of this individual is Ryan Christopher Palmer. Ryan Christopher Palmer, 21 years old. And you have to ask yourself the question, what causes a 21-year-old to have so much hatred? Probably for individuals that he has very little contact with anyway. But it's the state of times that we live in. There's just so many ugly things that are happening all across our country. One of the guns that this shooter had used had a swastika on it, and a photo of the weapons were shared at a press conference at the sheriff's office in Jacksonville, Florida. The shooting occurred less than a mile away from Edward Waters University, which is a historically black college. And the university put out a statement that said that a member of its security team actually saw the shooter on campus. They confronted him, and when he wouldn't identify himself, they asked him to leave. Waters, the sheriff, said that he put on his vest and mask before leaving, but it isn't known if he intended to attack the school. The FBI's Jacksonville office has opened a federal civil rights investigation and will pursue the incident as a hate crime. Now, shocking for me, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, someone who doesn't like African American books to be taught in Florida schools, called the shooter a scumbag, saying it was totally unacceptable that he targeted people based on their race. I have my issues with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, probably more so his choice of words. But when three African American people are killed by someone that has these racist tendencies and puts out a manifesto, his actions are not totally unacceptable. We can find certainly so much better vernacular comments, words, than it's totally unacceptable. It's totally unacceptable for school children to misbehave in a classroom. Okay, but when someone takes the life of three innocent individuals, that's a little bit more than totally unacceptable. He targeted these people based on their race. Well, anyway, Governor Ron DeSantis also said that the shooter took the coward's way out by killing himself rather than facing the consequences of his actions. And then DeSantis went on to say, "We condemn what happened in the strongest possible terms." Well, totally unacceptable. Acceptable is not a strong possible term. But anyway, we're not sure what motivated this. If there's anything that triggered this individual, he's dead. There's no way to talk to him. The police have not released more information from his manifestos other than he had some ugly things to say about African American people. And then you have to ask the question again, and I want you guys to think about this, because this is Think About It with Jayden Miller. Where does this hatred come from? Where does this hatred come from? Does it come from the state of our nation, where there's so many racial incidents that happen, some of them known and some of them not? Does this come from child rearing? Does it come from the family? Does it come from who we associate with? Does it come from the political tide of our country today? So those are some questions that really need to be answered. This, of course, is not the first time that someone has gone off and did a shooting such as this, targeting people of color, or because someone has a different sexual orientation, or they come from a different country, or something of that nature. And so it's just a really, really sad thing. Now, also on the very same day that this incident happened, thousands converged on the National Mall for the 60th anniversary of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr.'s March on Washington. Of course, that happened back in 1963 when 250,000 people gathered. And it is still considered one of the greatest and most consequential racial justice and equality demonstrations in United States history. So unfortunately, while this individual was shooting African American people to death in a Dollar General store in Jacksonville, Florida, at least there were thousands of people that were gathering to celebrate the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his speech. The speakers talked about the importance of Asian American rights and rights for everyone, and not singling out people, because that is not what this country is supposed to be about. Yolanda King, the 15-year-old granddaughter of the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., roused marchers with remarks delivered from the same spot her grandfather gave the "I Have a Dream" speech 60 years ago. According to Yolanda King, and I quote, "If I could speak to my grandfather today, I would say, I'm sorry, we still have to be here to rededicate ourselves to finishing your work and ultimately realizing your dream," she said. "Today, racism is still with us. Poverty is still with us. And now gun violence has come for places of worship, our schools, and our shopping centers." So those two incidents, those two things happened yesterday: a shooting in Jacksonville, Florida, and thousands of individuals went back to Washington, D.C. On the National Mall to mark the 60th anniversary of the I Have a Dream speech. Now, I don't want to just leave, or, as I continue to have this conversation with you, I don't want to just leave you all with, some of that was negative, or that I started off negative. I've been watching a lot of TikTok videos lately on a variety of different subjects. But I came across this one yesterday as well. And, I thought I would share this because even though we have ugly things that happen in our country, this a TikTok video that I watched yesterday reminds me that, we aren't always as bad as what we think we are. There are incidents that overshadow the positive ones, but I would beckon to believe that there are probably a whole lot more positive things that go on in terms of how we get along as different racial groups and how we should be getting along as Americans. But I saw this video of Ken Griffey Jr. and his former Seattle Mariners teammate Jay Buhner. Now, if you know anything about sports, Ken Griffey Jr. was a baseball player, and he played for a number of teams, including the Chicago White Sox and the Seattle Mariners, and his teammate was Jay Buhner. Now, Ken Griffey Jr. is African American, and Jay Buhner is a white man. But back in 2013, Ken Griffey Jr. was inducted into the Seattle Mariners Hall of Fame. And he gave a speech that night. And this goes back to, race relations in this country and how there's always hope, and that we need to see more of what I'm about to share with you. In the TikTok video, Ken Griffey is on the stage and he's, talking about his career and that. And then he looks over at Jay Buhner, who's sitting there as one of the attendees. And this is what Ken Griffey Jr. says. He says, and I'll quote, "Of all people that I would consider my brother from another mother, a guy who listens to country music, wears cowboy boots, big belt buckles. I got 17 speakers in the car, wear sweatsuits, and love rap music. Two people that are so far apart on every level became really close. And I don't know if that's the position changes that we had. I went over to right field. He came over. But there was no other person in this world other than my parents that if something ever happened to me, my wife, that I would want to raise my kids." Now, if you see this TikTok video during this speech, you'll see Jay Buhner, and he's on the stage and he is crying. He is actually crying, okay? They are best of friends, okay? And here again, you have this African-American man and you have this white man who really, as Ken Griffey Jr. said, couldn't be further apart just in terms of the things that they like. And yet, here's Jay Buhner crying, okay, like a little kid, okay, over the wonderful words that Ken Griffey Jr. is speaking to him. If we had more of that in the United States of America, this country would be a much better place. If we had less people that were spouting off their big mouths over political gains and wanting to be president and all of the other silly, ugly things that happen, including the killing of people, regardless of if it's 3 black people or 3 white people. If it's a school full of Latino kids, it's ridiculous and it's just sad that it happens. But if we have more of this happening, which I suspect does happen, we just don't hear about it as much. We just don't see it as much because the powers that be that want to continue to keep us divided as a nation don't want us to see that. They want us to focus on the negativity that happens. And so that makes it really, really sad. All right. Well, let me move on to some other good news. If you guys did not know, Sha'Carri Richardson, that girl can run, okay? I mean, that's a bad girl, okay? But anyway, Sha'Carri Richardson, Gabby Thomas, and the United States women were able to hold off Team Jamaica to win the relay, running a championship record time of 41.03. Richardson ran the anchor leg, and she was able to maintain the United States lead over a hard-charging Shericka Jackson, who ran the anchor leg for Team Jamaica. Jamaica crossed the line second at 41.21. Great Britain ran a 41.97 to get third. The win gave Sha'Carri Richardson 2 gold medals at this year's World Championships and 3 total medals. Richardson pulled off an upset in the women's 100 meters to win the event. She also raced to a bronze medal in the women's 200 meters. So congratulations to them. Congratulations to the men's team as well, because my understanding is that they won. And in fact, Noah Lyles and the men's 4x100 relay team ran a world-leading time of 37.38 to win the event. The United States men had a comfortable lead almost the entire race around the track. Italy claimed the silver, running a season best time of 37.62, and Team Jamaica ran a 37.76 to round out the top 3. So we've got winners on both sides. We've got the men, United States men winning, and we have the United States women leading. So a good day for them. I have, as I mentioned earlier, been watching a lot of TikTok videos, and a couple of weeks ago, I did a video. I'm sorry, not a video. I did a podcast. I did a podcast on NPD. That's narcissistic, and I still have a problem saying that word because it's so hard to say. I don't know who developed that word or came up with that word. But narcissistic. Here I go again. I'm going to try it again. Narcissistic. There we go. Narcissistic. I think I want to say cis too many times. Narcissistic personality disorder. I did a podcast on that a couple of weeks ago, and got a number of individuals to watch that, I'm sorry, I keep saying watch because I'm thinking about video, but I got a lot of people, because I watched TikTok videos, but you listen to my podcast, so I had a lot of people to listen to it, and since then, I have been finding a lot more about narcissistic personality disorder, and I guess I'm doing so, and it's really not that I guess. I am doing so because, admittedly, and most people don't like to admit when they've been a victim of something, but I've been a victim of a narcissistic wife, okay? Well, actually, a narcissistic ex-wife now. And abuse comes in many forms. And so a lot of times we think about abuse just being physical abuse. And sometimes we think about mental abuse. But that mental abuse is so much different, okay? We talk about emotional abuse and the trauma that comes after being abused by individuals. And so a couple of weeks ago, I laid it out. I talked to you all about narcissistic personality disorder, and I mentioned that, I am now divorced, and happily so, to be rid of that type of abuse in my home and in my life, because it can rob you of your peace. It can rob you of your physical stamina. It can rob you of your finances and your relationships with other people. It is extremely enduring, okay? And my podcast was generally geared towards men, but it was for women too. And I made mention of that a number of times, that no one should be in a narcissistic relationship, okay? And I've shared some videos that others made on my TikTok account and on my Instagram account and also on my Facebook account. And people have really been commenting and rallying around that, because narcissistic behavior in many ways is kind of covert. It's kept behind closed doors. And just like physical abuse should not be hidden, this kind of abuse should not be hidden either, because it robs people, okay, of their dignity. It robs them of their self-esteem. It can actually rob them of their lives as well. And so I've really been a proponent of making sure that I share from my own experiences how narcissistic behavior, how it occurs, why it occurs, and what you need to do to get from under that type of abuse, because it is abuse. Okay. Oftentimes when men are the victims of abuse, it's pushed aside because we're supposed to be the stronger sex. But abuse is abuse. And abuse can have long-lasting effects on anyone, regardless of your sex. And so as a man who has been married to or dates women, I just want those of you that are either in those relationships or thinking about getting out of those relationships to tell you that you do have support. So I watched a TikTok video from a man yesterday that I reposted, and he talked about being in a relationship with a narcissistic wife for 10 years. And he went on to say that he lost a 6-figure job. He had 4 kids. He said he was 35 years old. He lost a 6-figure job. He lost his reputation in the community. But he said that he would gladly give that up to be free of this woman and her behavior. He had enough of that behavior. And so certainly no one that I know personally, and most people that I don't know, don't like when women are mistreated, whether it be physically or emotionally, mentally, what have you. But we should also have that same regard for men that have been mistreated by women, because it happens. I was watching the other day and actually listening on Entertainment Tonight and some other, and just looking at some stuff on websites. But if you guys know who Steve Harvey is, he's the entertainer. He's a comedian, and he has his own show, the Steve Harvey Show, and also he's the host of the Family Feud. Well, his wife was caught cheating with his bodyguard. So now when men cheat on women, that seems to be such a negative for women, such a negative. But when men get cheated on, it seems as though that same stamina, that same disregard, that same, dislike for that type of behavior is not as high. And that's the double standard that I don't like. So Steve Harvey is hurting. Steve Harvey has been, he's been abused in a certain kind of way. All right. But he's been betrayed. And betrayal is really, really hard. It's really, really hard. It's hard for women that have been cheated on in relationships, and it's hard for men that have been cheated on. And the thing about his relationship is that it's so public. And she cheated on him, and now she has the nerve to go and file for divorce because now she wants half of his $400 million fortune. See, it's that kind of stuff that really causes men to step back, to not want to get married, to not want to be in serious relationships, because sometimes you have women that are out there for material things and not for love. Women will love their children, but when it comes to relationships, sometimes, oh my gosh, women cannot be nice. And I'm just pointing that out. And again, I want to be very, very clear that men can be awful in relationships too. Trust me, men can. But I don't want to deny mentioning that women can too. And it can be just as hurtful, but the response to it ought to be equal. Okay? If you don't like it when men cheat on women, don't come up with excuses for women that cheat on men. It's just that simple. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, and it's very, very hurtful to whomever it happens to. So let me get back to the narcissistic wife thing, okay? I'm going to talk about this again because I really want to just hit a couple of more points and things that I didn't hit when I talked about it a couple of weeks ago. But I want to talk about the 7 lasting effects of your narcissistic wife's abuse. And again, it is abuse, men, okay? Don't try to call it anything like, oh, well, that's just how she is. No, narcissistic behavior is not just how someone is, okay? That's something that they need to go to therapy or go to counseling for, because you need to change those behaviors. Okay. See, narcissistic behavior is totally unacceptable. Shooting 3 people in a Dollar General, we can come up with terms better than totally unacceptable. So anyway, getting back to my point, no matter how much you try to do for your wife, and this goes not just for wives, this goes for men or women that are in relationships and not married, boyfriend and girlfriend, what have you, okay? It can be same-sex relationships, whatever, okay? But because she's a narcissist, and I'm just gearing this towards men right now because I'm a man that likes women, dates women, you will never be able to do enough. You might love her, but you need to be aware of how her behavior will affect you in the long run. I've said on my videos that I've shared or reposted on my Instagram account and my TikTok account, you need to leave. Get away from these people. You cannot stay in a relationship with a narcissistic abuser. You cannot. Women, if you are in a narcissistic relationship with a man, you have got to divorce him if you're married to him, or if you are in a relationship with him, you have got to leave. If you just are friends with the narcissist, that person will continue to put you down and put themselves ahead of you. You can choose better friends than them. You can. Do not, whatever relationship you are in, if that person has a narcissistic behavior or personality disorder, you need to leave them alone. They need to find out, or they need to be told by someone else that they have these tendencies, they have this behavior, and they have got to seek help because they damage people. They damage people. But here are 7 damaging effects of the narcissistic abuse you're enduring or you endured. Okay. Now, as you continuously live with her constant criticism, gaslighting, lies, and manipulations, you start to doubt your own abilities. Your self-confidence takes a hit because it seems like you can't do anything right, no matter how hard you try. I watched a TikTok video yesterday that a man put up a video camera and secretly recorded the conversation between him and his wife. And my gosh, that man, he had the lowest self-esteem. All he could talk about is, well, I didn't do this because every time I try to do something, it's not right for you. I mean, just low self-esteem, that it impacts his ability to do things because of her reaction to it. When your self-esteem drops, people, it can affect every other part of your life. It can make you question at work and home, and it can cause you to put up with treatment you otherwise wouldn't endure. And that is me. Okay. So when I'm sharing these things with you, I'm sharing them about myself as well. I put up with treatment I otherwise wouldn't endure. Okay. So my ex was good looking. Okay. She was soft spoken. Okay. Kind hearted, kind natured to other people in public. Okay. So people, her friends, the people that have known her for a while, those people see a totally different side of her. Try living with her or being with her in a relationship. It's totally different. Okay. you can want to have a conversation about something very, very mundane or simple, or you want to talk about something positive that happens. And I'm talking about in a matter of seconds, she will turn it around and make it seem as though you've done the worst thing because you did not put her first. Okay. So that's the one thing about narcissist behaviors or personality disorder. They always want you to put them ahead of everyone else. Okay. You can't have relationships with your parents that are ahead of her. You can't have relationship with friends that you've had for years because she's threatened. Okay. You can't go to the store and buy anything because if you do and you buy it for yourself and not think of her, that's a problem. My gosh, it is extremely difficult. And I want you all to think about this because this is Think About It with Jayden Miller. Have you all been, are any of you all in relationships with people like that? That causes you to have low self-esteem. That anything you do, if you don't put her first and deny yourself or other people that are close to you, you are with the wrong person. Next, chronic anxiety. When you're living with a narcissist, it's like walking around on eggshells all of the time. You never know what can trigger their rageful response. Listen, folks, I am not ashamed. I tell you guys this. You know a little bit about me, those of you that have listened to my podcast. I've been on for a couple of years now. I was a cop in Chicago. Okay. I mean, I patrolled some of the meanest streets in Chicago. The meanest. And none of the time that I worked in Chicago on some of the baddest streets did I ever have any anxiety. Did I ever walk around on eggshells? And I put some people in prison. Never did I have constant stress or constant anxiety until I was in a relationship with this person. That's when it started. That's when I became so anxious because I'm walking around and I'm wondering, okay, did I do this right? You know, I mean, even at work, I would come home and try to share something that happened, and it might involve a female coworker. And oh my gosh, I get the third degree about who is this person and does she like you? And, you know, and I did not even want my ex to even come to my job because she would start that kind of mess. Well, such and such looked at me strangely. What? They just looked at you. It's that kind of anxiety that you have to deal with. And the narcissist, they can't realize it. So again, this is their behavior. They'll turn it around on you and say, oh, you're not being supportive of me. So I'm supposed to support you in your mess. No, that's not what goes on in a relationship. In a good relationship, I'm supposed to point out your mess so that you can change it, because that's not logic. That's not acceptable behavior. Folks, chronic anxiety can affect both your physical and mental health. You may find that you're jumpy all the time and that you overreact when something does happen. It can cause you to lose sleep, and the higher level of stress can cause physical damage to your body that will shorten your life. I'm telling you, people, a narcissist can cause so much damage in your life. More than just mental, more than just walking on eggshells. They can actually shorten your life. If you are in a relationship with them, I'll say this again, you have got to get out. You must leave. You must divorce them. You must break up with them. If they are your friend, unfriend them. You've got to get away from them. Let me take a break and just remind you guys to check out my website at www.jaydenmiller.com. Please like, share, and subscribe on my YouTube channel, and like, comment, and follow on your favorite podcast platform. Again, you can find me on all of the podcast platforms, including Spotify, Spreaker, Castbox, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, and so many more. All right, let me get back to this again. All right, fatigue. All right, so we're talking about the 7 lasting effects of narcissistic abuse. Okay, number 3 is fatigue. Living with chronic anxiety and walking around on eggshells all the time is exhausting and can lead to chronic fatigue. You may find you feel too tired to do any of the things you previously enjoyed doing. The narcissist loves that because she wants you focused solely on her. Losing out on the things you love in life just causes more depression and fatigue. Folks, I used to, when I worked at a school, I was an assistant principal at this one particular school. But before that, before I even became assistant principal and I was a teacher at the school, I would love to go and see my students play volleyball or play basketball or play football. Those were things I enjoyed doing, okay? Well, my narcissist ex would get so bent out of shape because I wanted to stay after school, okay, and see my students play a game and not run home so I can sit underneath her all day, all evening. She would get upset because I want to see students achieve, not just academically, but athletically as well. But I couldn't do that, okay? So the things that I previously enjoyed doing, couldn't do them anymore. Okay, because again, now I'm anxious. All right, I'm anxious. I'm fatigued. Okay, and all of these different things. So now I just want to come home, and oftentimes I just wanted peace. And oftentimes when I got home, I couldn't even have peace. Next, number 4, sleep disruption. Living with chronic anxiety, constant fatigue, and low self-esteem can cause you to lose the sleep you need to stay healthy and feel good. This can take the form of being unable to sleep, or it might involve nightmares. In either case, it's detrimental to both your physical and mental health. Folks, again, oftentimes we choose a mate because of how they look and what they have. The wrong reasons to choose anybody. Okay, she looks good, or he looks good, or he has money, or she has potential, or she has a great job, or he drives a nice car. Those are the wrong reasons to get into a relationship with anybody. And for those of you that may be younger that are listening, I hope this is a lesson that you will learn earlier in life. Okay, physical beauty is skin deep. Okay, you need to be focused on that person's mind and their actions. Okay, how do they treat you? How do they treat other people? Okay, what are their goals in life? Do they have any humanitarian causes that they're interested in? Okay, how do they treat their parents and their siblings? How do they treat their friends? Those are things that you need to start looking at. What is their IQ level? And when I say IQ level, not just their academic prowess, but I'm talking about this. What about their social, emotional? How do they treat people in public? When you go to a restaurant, how do they treat the waitress or the waiter? If they go to a store, how are they treating the clerks? You know, it's all about that kind of stuff. And narcissists can be real ugly when it comes to dealing with people like that. But again, I want you guys to remember, don't choose anyone just because they look good. And even at my age, that's an issue that I've had to deal with as well. Because who doesn't want someone beautiful on their arm? Who doesn't want someone handsome on their arm? Who doesn't want someone that really appeals to us physically? We want that. I'm just saying that can't be the only thing, because you'll find yourself in a relationship with someone that looks good but is ugly inside. Don't do it. Listen to me. All right. Number 5, panic attacks. It's not at all uncommon for people living with narcissists to suffer panic attacks. The constant undermining of your self-esteem, feeling anxious all the time, and trying so hard to please someone who can't be pleased can lead you to feel panicked about every move you make. Panic attacks can also feel like you're having a heart attack. You might feel chest pain and be unable to breathe properly. You might even have to go to the hospital. This is just another very damaging result of your wife's narcissistic behavior. And again, not just your wife. It can be a husband. It can be a best friend. It can be a friend. It can be someone and you're in a relationship with sorry. All right. So again, I remember having pains in my back in my shoulders, sometimes having headaches when I never did before. All of that is a result of this behavior because it didn't happen prior. It didn't happen prior. And it hasn't happened since my ex got out of my house. Okay? It hasn't. I am in such a better state physically, mentally, because I got rid of the narcissist. And again, you cannot stay in that relationship. You've got it for your own mental health, for your own longevity. You cannot stay in a relationship with someone like that. You can't. Number 6, irrational behavior. It's not surprising that you might sometimes act irrationally after being treated in such an abusive way. The narcissistic abuse you're enduring at the hands of your wife or girlfriend or boyfriend or friend can make you doubt yourself and feel like you're losing your mind. It can also make you react in a way that doesn't make sense. It's all part of the pattern of abuse. And so what we mean by irrational behavior is this. So you know that whoever it is, and in my case, my ex-wife, she's ready to get started on something because you can sense it now. You've been in a relationship with this person for a while now, okay, because there's little telltale signs, but also you can feel it in your spirit. You can feel it in your soul, okay? There's this voice that's telling you, it's getting ready to start. You can tell by the expression. I could always tell by the expression on her face or the way that she's getting ready to talk. Okay. I knew it was about to happen. Okay. And so then what you become is defensive. All right. You become defensive because what else can you be? When someone is coming at you, you become defensive. But what the narcissist will do is they will spin that around and then make it seem as though you're the aggressor. They will start things and then get on you because of your reaction to them. Well, if you call me a liar, how do you expect me to respond? So in my case, I was supposed to respond in a loving way, and you shouldn't raise your voice. And why? And I'm like, excuse me, you just called me a liar. I am a human being. I am upset. I am angry. Okay, yelling the word yell is a part of the English language. Okay, it's part of our emotions. Okay, so sometimes, and I'm not saying that we should yell at people arbitrarily. What I'm saying is that when there's a negative action, sometimes there's going to be a negative reaction. Okay, so if you don't start none, there won't be none. It's very simple, and that comes from the south side of Chicago. Don't start none, there won't be none, okay? And that's the thing. If there's a problem in a relationship, what we do as mature couples is we sit down and we have a conversation about it. If there is something that's bothering you, you bring it to my attention, okay, in the proper way, and we will sit and we will discuss it. But when you accuse me without facts, when you accuse and you lie and you come up with other stuff, or if I'm having a conversation with you about something positive or something that's mundane and doesn't mean anything, and then for you to bring up something to cause me to lose my joy and to cause me to not want to talk to you, that's a problem. That is not on me. That is not on me. Number 7 is loss of joy. That brings me right into that. This is the ultimate in the damage that narcissistic abuse can do. You can find that you just can't ever seem to be happy anymore. I remember at my old place of employment, there was a lady that came to me and told me, she said, you know what? You used to have this great smile on your face and now you don't anymore. And I'm like, yep, that's because of the crap that I deal with at home. That's a big red flag that you need to make some changes when you have lost your joy. And I lost it, folks. I lost my joy. I did. Lost it. Really, the only place I like to be is I liked being at work and somewhere other than home when she was here. It's just the truth. I hated to be home when she was here because I knew that always there was the tendency for something to get started. Always. It was always something. It's constant criticism. And even if you make a mistake, you You never hear the end of it. But if she makes mistakes, whether it be in her past or in the present, she is not, she will not, you cannot hold her accountable, okay? Because she can't be held accountable because your mistakes are worse than her mistakes. So if she does something and you bring it up, it's pushed under the rug. And if you bring something to her attention in the way that you've discussed that we would do so, she'll minimize it because it's not that important to her, okay? What's important is how you treated her. So men, young men, middle-aged men, older men, people that are married, people that are in relationships, if you're in a same-sex relationship, if you are a woman married to a man or a woman in a relationship with a man, it does not matter what it is. If you are in a relationship with this type of individual, they are abusers and you need to get out of that relationship. See, a marriage or a relationship of any kind is supposed to involve two people, depending on a relationship, who love and cherish one another. They are supposed to support each other and help each other through life's changes and challenges. A narcissistic wife or girlfriend or husband or boyfriend or whomever isn't really capable of doing anything for anyone else other than themselves. As a victim of abuse, you can suffer long-lasting damage to your physical and mental health. Okay? You can. But these are just 7 effects that I'm talking about. There are many more. Taken together, they constitute what's called as narcissistic victim syndrome. And sometimes you need to seek help so that you can get the joy back in your life. And I'm going to tell you again, the first step is to remove yourself from the presence of a narcissistic abuser. And that's what they are. Let's call them what they are. They are abusers. They are narcissistic abusers. Regardless, a woman can be a narcissistic abuser. Men, you do not have to stay in that relationship. I know how that is. You want to be the protector and the provider. You are the alpha male and all of that kind of stuff. But you're also going to have a short life living with this idiot. You cannot stay with them. Okay, there are so many other men and women and friendships in the world, people that are not narcissists, people that will be supportive of you and will love you and will cherish you and not try to reign over you and control you. That is not what you need in your life. You don't. You absolutely do not. All right. So really quickly, I also want to talk a little bit before I get ready to close is what you need to do in order to get some support. All right. Because you need to heal from this. And this is something that I am doing as well. I am healing. Okay. I am healing. Yes. I have a good cadre of friends and relatives. All right. Going to get therapy or counseling is not something that I personally need. What I need was the companionship of my friends and my family. Okay. Because in my former relationship, they were all driven away from me. Because again, when you're in a narcissistic relationship, that one person is supposed to be the center, her. Okay. So my relationships with my relatives dwindled, and my relationship with my closest friends in the world were non-existent because she made me get rid of them. Okay. Yes. In order to continue to be in a relationship and not have to fight every day about it. I mean, I recall, my friendships, and mentioning them at the very beginning of our relationship. And she held that over me till the very end of our relationship. I mean, there were men friends that I had that I was going to now and starting to talk to because, again, she had cut me off from people. So now towards the end of the relationship, I'm starting to talk to them again, and they're starting to share advice with me. And oh my God, she did not like that because she was not the sharer of advice. And in fact, in one situation, went on Facebook to find the phone number to one of my friends and called him without his permission. He's a married man with a wife. wife so she could let him know that she was disturbed by him giving me advice. That is narcissistic behavior. And when I pointed that out to her, she justified that. Did not take any responsibility for that at all. None. But luckily, I've got all those relationships and those friendships back. I had to go around and apologize to a number of people. I did. For now, cutting them off so that this woman could be the center of my life. And that's not to say she shouldn't have been. What I'm saying is that you can be the center, but then also there's branches on a tree. Okay? Yes, there's the trunk, which can be the center. All right, which pulls up all the nutrients out of the ground. Yes, but there are also branches. Okay, and those branches need to be fed, but they also play an integral part in how that tree lives as well. And so to cut them off so that only the trunk gets all of the attention, gets all of the nutrients, is certainly not the way that nature intended. So if you're one of those people that needs to get professional support, then I say that you should reach out to a mental health professional, because that can be a first step for you. My mental health professionals are my aunts, and my female friends that will tell me the truth, that will let me know that are true friends and don't sugarcoat things. And they'll let me know when I'm right and they'll let me know when I'm wrong. My male friends that stick with me, but also will tell me and say, hey, dude, that's not right. You need to fix that. That's what I needed in my life. So if you need someone that can help you identify the covert abusive behaviors of the narcissistic person, then you need to get that. You need to develop coping skills to manage this individual if you are still in a relationship with them. You need to treat symptoms of depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, or other mental health conditions that have come upon you because of the actions of this demon. You need to challenge negative self-talk. And you need to set goals for the future. I just talked about this one a little bit, maintaining healthy relationships. One of the most common effects of narcissistic abuse may be feeling lonely or having a sense of worthlessness. And that's what happened to me. I felt lonely. I felt alone. I didn't have anybody. She had driven them all away. I couldn't talk to anyone else about it, so now I'm alone. She maintains all of her friendships. And see, the thing also is that she wants me to be friends with her circle, her people, because those people have her back, So now I have no one. She got rid of them, but she was able to maintain all of her friendships, all of her relationships. So I may have had a friend, and actually maybe not even a friend, maybe more so of an associate or someone I had a few conversations with, okay? I had to cut them off. But then she was able to keep in contact with men that dated her in the past because, and this was the excuse, well, she wants to know what they're doing, and she needs to know if they're still contacting her, if, why they are. And, one guy, we're married and he's still sending her little roses and stuff, through messages. But see, that was acceptable. But I tell you, if one of my friends, and actually this did happen, one of my friends sent me stuff on Instagram and she would be hostile. Again, folks, you cannot be in a relationship with this kind of person. You cannot. So maintain healthy relationships. Cultivate those relationships that can help you heal from the hurt the abusive relationship caused you. You should join a support group, and that can be any kind of group where there are people that are supportive of you, people that are not judging you. Sometimes they can be people that are recovering from abusive relationships. It could be a group of men or a group of women, and you all go to the movies every Saturday, or you guys go for a walk every Tuesday, or whatever it is. Something like that can be very, very helpful for you. You need to practice self-care. All right. Try to allow yourself to experience your emotions, which is what I've had to go through, because I felt that. I felt guilt, confusion, regret, grief, sadness, anger, and all of my feelings are valid, and so are yours. The narcissist will tell you that your feelings are not valid. And that's what happened even in my relationship. If I couldn't feel guilt. I couldn't feel sadness. I'm sorry, I couldn't feel anger. Okay. I could be sad. I was sad all the time. But I couldn't, all of those things I couldn't. I could feel guilt because she would guilt trip me. Okay. I was confused all the time. I had tons of regret, lots of grief, lots of sadness. And then there were times where I would have some anger. But now afterwards, I feel guilty that I allowed this person in my life. I feel guilty that I didn't see the signs, and there were many of them. Before we got married, there were a ton of them. There was the anger, there was the physical abuse, there was the destroying of things. Yes. When I was confused, I should have listened to that small voice that we hear. When there was regret, I should have done something about it so much earlier. When there was grief and sadness, I should have been able to reach out to people, and I couldn't. And when there was anger, I had to channel it in another direction when I should have been able to express that. Your feelings, people, are valid, and you need to have them. Don't let anyone tell you you can't have them. So practice self-care. Maybe yoga or dance lessons or sessions, art therapy. I'm a photographer, so that's where I find where I can practice my self-care. And let me share this with you guys too. You know, I would take my ex with me on photography sessions, okay? And boy, what a mistake that was, because I was not able to be myself. Now I want you all to think about it with Jayden Miller, and you can also tell me what you think, all right? But I was on a photography session. This happened last November, okay? And I'm photographing the bride and her friends as they are coming up to a particular place at the reception. And so one of her friends meets up with the bride, and the friend sticks her tongue out towards the camera and does something else that's silly with the bride. So now, my job as a photographer is to do what, folks? It is to capture images. It is to capture the wonderful moments that are happening for this lovely couple, okay? This woman, whoever she was just having fun with the bride. Let me tell you, my ex came up to me at the wedding and guilt tripped me to make it seem as though I got that person. How do I have control over another person? Now, as a narcissist, you can control people, but at a wedding, okay, and I'm the photographer, and someone comes in front of my camera with the bride to do stuff, how do I have control over them? How did I know she was going to stick out her tongue? How did I know she was going to do these other things? But my ex guilt tripped me and made it seem as though I'm the one that got that person to do those things, and that I forget the word that she used for it. Maybe it'll come to me in a couple of seconds or so. But made it seem that I was the one causing her to be sexually suggestive. And I'm like, excuse me? I'm the photographer. I have no idea what this. So now for the rest of the freaking wedding, my job is to photograph and make people feel good about themselves. Now what is it? Now I'm feeling guilty. Okay? For what reason? I did nothing wrong. Now I'm feeling guilty. Now I'm walking on eggshells. Okay? That's what I'm talking about, folks. You can't be in a relationship with this person. So all my attention is supposed to be on my ex at a wedding that I'm being paid for, when my attention is supposed to be on capturing images. I am working. Okay, I'm working. I'm sorry, I don't have time to be focused on you at the moment. These people are paying me to do a job. But the only thing she could see is this woman, making the sticking out her tongue, and making it seem as though, oh, well, she's, like she's coming on to me is what it was. And I'm like, that lady does not know who the heck I am. She's doing it because there's a camera in front of her face. Again, it's that type of behavior. That's the kind of person I was dealing with. And so on the ride home, it was hell, because now here's the guilt tripping. Well, I wasn't going to bring this up, but and I'm like, see. And so now I'm trying to explain. I'm at a wedding. I'm not trying to, you're my wife. I'm happy to be here with you. I'm happy that you're helping me. Okay. But I'm not responsible for how someone else acts when I'm taking photos. Gosh, folks, there is so much more. And let me tell you, healing is a continuous process. Okay. So what I want you to do, if you've been, if you've been in a relationship like that, you've got to heal. Okay, so I mentioned art therapy. Photography is mine. So now when I go on photography sessions, I go alone and I have my joy back again. I can actually tell a bride or the bridesmaids, you look beautiful, instead of wondering what my wife standing across the room is going to say, because I told someone else at their wedding that they look beautiful in their dress. Journaling is another way. Listening and dancing to music. I used to love to listen to music. That all went away. So now I do that, and I'm using positive affirmations. And so again, folks, I just want to share with you some of my experiences dealing with the narcissist. I'm seeing that on so many Instagram videos and TikTok videos, there are so many people warning you of what to look for in narcissistic relationships. And this is the thing. It's not, I'm not listening to just men. There are women coming on telling men what to look for in women that are narcissists. So it's not a sexist thing. It's not a men against women thing. There are women that are saying, listen, I have suffered this abuse. But also, there are men that have suffered this abuse. And men, when you're dealing with women that are narcissists, you've got to have some strategies if you are going to stay in a relationship. And if you're not going to stay in a relationship, you need to hightail it out of there, get a divorce. Like that man in the TikTok video that I saw the other day, he said, you know what? I left my six-figure job at the loss of my reputation because my ex went around talking crap about me. He said, I am still better off being by myself than being in a relationship with this bullying, backstabbing, betraying demon. You don't want to be in a relationship with that kind of person. All right. So again, listen to my podcast from a couple of weeks ago. It really gets into the NPD, the narcissistic personality disorder. If you are suffering from this kind of abuse, folks, seek some help from your friends, from your family. If you still have them, if they haven't cut you off from them, if you need to go seek counseling, do so. But whatever you do, plan your exit strategy. If you are still in a relationship, plan your exit strategy to get out. And if you are just beginning a relationship, again, check out my podcast from a couple of weeks ago. This one has some good information in it as well. Know the signs. Go on TikTok. Listen to those people talk about narcissistic abusers. And for whatever you need to do, do not watch for the signs. And if this is not the relationship for you, then you need to get out. Be honest and tell them, listen, I can't be in a relationship where I'm walking on eggshells, where I can't be myself, where I feel as though you have to be the center of my attention at all times, and I can't have a friend or a family member. No, I'm sorry. I've got to walk away from this. And hopefully that narcissist will start to find ways to change their behavior. All right. Once more, please check out my website at www.jaydenmiller.com. Please like, share, and subscribe on my YouTube channel, and like, comment, and follow on your favorite podcast platform. You know, I have some good friends that also have a podcast, Man Space. Go check them out. They're on Spotify, just like me, and Apple Podcast and Spreaker. You can find them on YouTube. They're on so many podcast platforms too. Man Space Podcast. I love those guys, so I just want to make sure that I give a shout out to them. So again, I'm going to get ready to end this episode. You guys have a wonderful week. I'll be back again soon. Thank you so much for listening, and please, folks, take care of yourself. Have a great day.